Hello, and welcome to On the Turf, hosted by three guys who have never been on the turf. My name is Arjun and Ryan.
I'm Sri Konda.
And I'm Rohan Patel.
And we have not been on the turf for a couple weeks. Last time we talked was week 2, but we're here, week 4, and I think we'll be doing weekly episodes from here on out. But we're really excited to talk a month through the season now about all these great teams. I think the really interesting thing about the season right off the bat is how much of a mixed bag really most of these teams are. For me, as we're going to talk about in my power rankings in just a couple seconds, I think there's only a couple really great teams that have stood out this year and a lot of question marks otherwise. And all of our teams are question marks, it seems.
I don't think the Steelers are not a question mark. You guys are just bad. Objectively, you guys are just bad.
We'll talk about the Steelers. Kenny Pickett is now starting, finally, Sri. So we're really excited for the Steelers. And even if it's a losing season, there's hope in Pittsburgh now. Mitch Trubisky was really, Trubisky was making me sad.
I mean, you guys went from bad honestly, and bad to watch to bad, but maybe fun to watch, but still bad nonetheless.
I'll take fun to watch. But let's jump into power rankings. So for us with power rankings, starting week 5, we're going to be posting all of our power rankings on Instagram weekly till the end of the season. But we're going to kick it off on the show here with, I'm going to give my top 10 power rankings, my top 10 teams in the NFL right now. And how I do these is basically whatever team's above the team previously is a team that I think would beat them. So the top team is, I think, the best team in the league, and they would beat all the teams below them, but it's the NFL, so any given Sunday. Before we kick it off, I want to start with some honorable mentions that couldn't make the top 10. I want to include these teams. Start at 4 teams. The LA Chargers, I think, seem to be coming back a little bit from that injury scare that they had in week 3. They lost Rashawn Slater for the year. Corey Linsley, Keenan Allen is still not back. But it seemed against the Texans, the Texans are not a good team. Texans may be the worst team in the league right now, but they seem to do pretty well. The Jacksonville Jaguars, I think, are still my AFC South pick. They face the best team in the league, in my opinion, the Philadelphia Eagles. But the Jaguars are still rebuilding, very young team. All right, hi everyone. This is Arjun from a couple days later. We recorded this episode right before Monday Night Football, Rams-Niners. So I was originally expecting the Niners to eke out a close one or the Rams to eke out a close one, but it looks like that wasn't the case. Obviously, the Niners kind of blew out the Rams. So I'm actually going to be kicking the Rams to the honorable mentions here. I still think they're a team that has a lot of good playmakers. They kind of just need to put it all back together. It's a very Cooper Kupp reliant team right now. Matthew Stafford and the offensive line don't really seem to be keeping that offensive juice going from last season. But I'll be talking about the Niners in just a little bit as we get onto the rest of the list. And finally, I hate to say this, but the Dallas Cowboys defense may be the best defense in the NFL right now. And Micah Parsons, that defensive line, Trayvon Diggs, the entire defense is playing really well as a unit. And I think when Dak Prescott comes back, Cooper Rush has been playing amazing, obviously, but when Dak Prescott comes back, this team could make some noise. But let's start off with number 10 at 2-2. One of the only, actually no, I have quite a few 2-2 teams on this list, but the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, who lost on Sunday Night Football yesterday, 41-31 to the Kansas City Chiefs. They're at 10.
Wow. Okay.
But the Tampa Bay Buccaneers offensively looked to get back on track yesterday. Obviously, Tom Brady has been lacking weapons for the first 3 games of the season. They only scored 3 offensive touchdowns in the first 3 games. They scored 4 yesterday, and that shows the power of Mike Evans, Chris Godwin, and Julio Jones all together on the same field. The Chiefs are simply a better, more complete team right now, and that's why they got the win. But I think Tampa Bay is going to get back on track in a pretty bad division. Number 9, you guys are going to like this. I have Aaron Rodgers and the Green Bay Packers at 3-1. So I will say, they're quality wins in the NFL, right? They're quality wins when a bad team gets a win against a really good team. That's what I would call a terrible win by the Packers. The Packers went to overtime against Bailey Zappi.
Okay, first of all, Bailey Zappi, bro. I don't know if y'all remember. I talked about him in our sleeper section for the NFL draft.
I'm gonna insert a soundbite right here.
Yeah, play the clip, run the clip. But He wasn't bad.
No, yeah, he didn't turn the ball over
against one of the best defenses in the league. I do take issue with the Packers being ahead of the Bucs, but we'll dive into that later.
I mean, the Packers did beat the Bucs in Week 3, a severely depleted Bucs, but the thing with the Packers, obviously, those of you who've been watching the show know I picked them to be my NFC Super Bowl team. I'm not wavering from that just yet. The thing that gives me a little bit of hope is that the Packers are conscious of the fact that offensively they can win one way right now, which is to run the ball and let Aaron Rodgers hit some play action, hit some balls to Romeo Doubs, who's emerging as a really good receiver, and obviously Randall Cobb, Alan Lazard, and the rest of the folks there. But I think the Packers, they're playing the Giants in London next week. I think that'll be a good game for them to get back on track offensively. And, it's the beginning of the season. These teams are still figuring it out, especially teams like the Packers. And I just trust Aaron Rodgers and Matt LaFleur to figure it out. Number 8, Sri, I got your Minnesota Vikings. They just won in London last week. Sri, I'd love to hear your thoughts on how that game actually went, because it was a pretty ugly win by the Vikings. The Saints are not a terrible team by any means. They're 1-3 right now, but I think they're one of the better 1-3 teams in the league. Andy Dalton, Chris Olave looks like a stud. But Kirk Cousins, Justin Jefferson, they got back on track last game. 10 receptions, nearly 150 yards for Jefferson. He's showing why he's one of the best receivers in the league. All right, I'm back a couple days later talking about the Niners here at 7 on this list. I do think the San Francisco 49ers are easily the best defense in the NFL right now. I've been saying for a while with Jimmy Garoppolo, I think this team really is a Super Bowl contender and could be the top contender in the NFC. They've gotten to the NFC Championship last year. Jimmy G, apart from a drop pick, they would have probably gone to the Super Bowl. And obviously they got there in 2019 as well. With a great defense and offense that I just think continually will get better as Jimmy G continues to get back into this offense. We forget that the offseason was focused around Trey Lance being the quarterback of this team, and he obviously has a different skill set to Jimmy G. So I think this team can really go only up from here. They got a great game against the Panthers this week. I think they will. We've seen a bad offense from Baker Mayfield and the Panthers, but it could be at its worst this week with the best defense in the NFL going up against them. So Niners at 7, plenty of room to grow. Would not be surprised if they jump into the top 5 in weeks to come. Number 6. I don't know how you guys are going to feel about this.
Probably bad already.
I have the Cincinnati Bengals at number 6. Since the second half of that Cowboys game in week 2, the Bengals have looked to be back on that Super Bowl track that they were last year. I will say that the Bengals are a couple plays away from being 4-0 right now. Yes, they did not play Tua Tagovailoa in week 4 on Thursday Night Football, at least for the full game, but Joe Burrow, T. Higgins, Jamar Chase, those, and Joe Mixon, obviously, those guys are one of the best offensive trios in the league. And I really just think this offense is great. Zach Taylor is one of the worst, maybe not worst, but one of the most mediocre coaches in the league. But Joe Burrow is just that great, which is why I have a lot of confidence in him. That defense is getting back on track, and the pass protection has really improved from the beginning of the season. They only let up 1 sack to a really good Dolphins defense last week. So I got the Cincinnati Bengals at 6. So here are where we at right now. We got the Bucs at 10, Packers at 9, Vikings at 8, Rams at 7, and the Bengals at 6.
These suck.
All right, I'm gonna react really first.
Here, let you go.
I'm gonna react first because I think Rohan shares more of an opinion than I do on this. I actually don't think the list is that bad, but I'll tell you a couple of my problems. I think the Bengals are a little too high. For me personally, I honestly would have them around like 7 or 8. I think 6 is just a bit too high. Just need to see one more game for me to be comfortable at them. I would honestly like to see the Vikings actually a little lower, and actually put the Bucs above the Vikings actually right now. I just don't really trust the Vikings yet, honestly. It was a very ugly win. They're just so on and off. When that offense gets going, it's really hard to stop, but the offensive line is really worrying me. That just might be because of the Saints' defensive line, but honestly, I'm just not confident in the Vikings. I would rather have like the Packers at 10, the Vikings at 9, and then the Bucs at 8, even though the Packers did beat the Bucs, but again, they were depleted. So that's just my main concern. Yeah.
I have a ton of issues. First of all, the Bengals shouldn't be on this list. The Bengals have not proven in any way that they're a top 10 team. First, they started the year losing to the Steelers. Then they lose to the Cooper Rush-led Cowboys.
I don't think you can use Cooper Rush-led Cowboys as an insult anymore, though.
Okay,
cool. Yeah, honestly,
who else did the Cowboys beat?
I mean, they beat the
the
Commanders.
Vikings last year.
Giants. Okay, two really great teams, I'm sure. Then who else?
And the Vikings last year.
I mean, those are the 3 teams they beat with Cooper Rush so far.
No. Who did the Bengals beat? They beat
The Bengals have beat the Jets, and they beat the Dolphins.
Okay, so the Jets are not a good team. And then the Dolphins, they needed, on a short week, without their starting quarterback for 3 quarters, and I mean, it's really at home, and then just a demoralized team after losing their starting quarterback to, like, a vicious injury. None of that screams confidence in any semblance to me. None of it does. I don't know why the Bengals are here ahead of teams like the Chargers, who at least have a lot more talent on their team, and have suffered a really, like, close loss to a great team, the Chiefs, and then a game where they were just depleted against the Jaguars. I don't know why the Chargers aren't here. I don't know why. Who else on your honorable mention? Heck, the Cowboys. The Cowboys have looked great. 3-1 without a starting quarterback. Look the way their defense is playing. I don't know why they're not up here. The Cowboys beat the Bengals, for crying out loud. I don't know what else you want to see from them.
I mean, the thing is with the Bengals is that they've shown trust them. But they've shown a lot of improvement over a short sample size, right? I think their offensive line, especially that's the thing against the offensive line against the Dolphins was really good. They only let 1 sack. Melvin Ingram just won AFC Defensive Player of the Month, and he was limited in that game because of that Bengals offensive line. And I think if that offensive line works, that Bengals defense is fine. I mean, you got Trey Hendrickson. He's pretty good. And the offense is just really good. Joe Burrow is one of the best quarterbacks in the game. And, you guys know I love the Chargers. It's just that right now, without injury-prone the Chargers are right now, I just can't put them on this list yet. And I don't know. The Chargers have to show me with their injury squad right now if they can actually beat a good team.
Horrifying.
But let's get into.
These are actually horrifying takes.
Let's get into the rest of the list.
This is so bad.
I am actually getting kind of worried, not gonna lie. But
all right, I mean the top 5 I don't think is that controversial. Number 5, I got the Ravens. This may be a little high for the Ravens. They did lose to the Bills and the Dolphins, who are yet to come on this list. I think Lamar Jackson is playing MVP football. He did not have an amazing game yesterday, but he put them in a position to win by the end of the game. I think John Harbaugh had some really questionable coaching decisions at the end of that game, along with some defensive missteps. I don't think Lamar Jackson caused them to lose that game necessarily. They did take a 21-3 or 20-3 lead and stalled out, which worries me a little bit about the Ravens. But the Ravens, a lot like the Bills for me, can just lay such an offensive knockout against any team in this league with a quarterback like Lamar Jackson, who's as dynamic as he is, that I'm just going to put him in this list. As you guys can tell, this list is very quarterback driven, and that's just how the league is going this year, I think. Defenses are playing a lot better. I think I read some statistic that this is one of the lowest scoring, in terms of offenses, this is the lowest scoring in years for the NFL, which means that if you have a good quarterback against these better defenses, that gives you all the more advantage. So I think Lamar Jackson is really playing great football right now. Easily an MVP candidate next to Jalen Hurts probably. So I'm going to put him at number 5. Number 4, not necessarily a quarterback-driven decision, but I got the Miami Dolphins. I had to dock them down because Teddy Bridgewater seems to be starting. I guess we haven't really talked about the Tua Tagovailoa injury. For me, I don't really want to speculate on it too much. I think a lot of people have said a lot of things about this injury already if you've been following the NFL. Obviously, the concussion protocol needs to be structurally sound, and these doctors need to follow it. But in terms of ranking the team as it is, Teddy Bridgewater is one of the best backups in the league. I think they will get a win against the Jets this week, and it looks like Tua could be out of the concussion protocol relatively soon because the MRI showed no structural damage to his brain or anything like that. So because of that, Dolphins, they were one of the undefeated teams. They were undefeated for a reason. Offensively, they're really dynamic. Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle. Really not much more to say besides that. Number 3, and then the following 3 teams, I think, are just the top 3 teams in the league, and I think they're a tier above these following ones. I think you can interchange 2 and 3. I got the Chiefs at 3. I think I was wrong about the Chiefs. Patrick Mahomes and that offense just seems to be, they didn't lose a step with Tyreek Hill. And obviously, it's great to see that Tyreek Hill's. I mean, actually, Tyreek Hill's a little questionable personally, but it's great to see that the Miami Dolphins are also benefiting from that trade. But the Chiefs, what can you say more? That Patrick Mahomes play last night where he did the 360 and then tossed it to Clyde Edwards-Helaire. I think that says it all about this team. this team is still the Chiefs of old, and they're not going anywhere. Same for the Bills at number 2. The Bills had a great comeback win yesterday. They did lose to the Dolphins, but I think if they play the Dolphins again, they will play the Dolphins again. I think the Bills do win that game. They were the better offensive team in that game.
The Bills actually visit Pittsburgh this week, don't they?
We don't need to talk about that.
Or is it Pittsburgh visiting Buffalo? Are you excited for that, Arjun? Are you excited? Are you happy?
I'm excited to see Kenny Pickett. I'm not excited. I'm not excited to see what Josh Allen does to our defense.
Kenny Pickett's gonna want to retire in that game.
Look. With the Steelers, and we're gonna get into the Steelers a little bit later, but I think Josh Allen's gonna absolutely destroy the Steelers defense.
He's gonna do
whatever we have left, it's gonna be gone by the end of that game. With the Bills, 3-1. Josh Allen, he's that guy, and number 1, clearly the best team in the league, the sole undefeated team in the league, the Philadelphia Eagles. I was really impressed with their performance against the Jaguars, down 14-0 early. And they were able to come back, win that game. They showed that they have the toughness to compete with a team like the Jaguars. The Jaguars are not the Jaguars of old, it seems. They're a well-coached team with a lot of young players. But I was really impressed with the Eagles this week. I think Jalen Hurts continued to show that he does not shrink under the pressure. A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, and a defense that's playing extremely well. So to go over the list again, I got the Eagles at 1, Bills at 2, the Chiefs at 3, the Dolphins at 4, the Ravens at 5, the Bengals at 6, the Rams at 7, Vikings 8, Packers 9, Buccaneers at the bottom at 10.
I don't actually disagree with the top 5. I'm just thinking about it like this, right? Like, with Teddy B, I feel like the Bengals or like any of the teams in the bottom could probably take the Dolphins on. Like, with Teddy Bridgewater, I feel like the Miami Dolphins, like, Tua's going to come back soon, so I feel like that's fine to leave him there. But with Teddy Bridgewater, like, we just don't know anything yet. So he could be a game manager type of thing, but he's not going to be making like 50-yard throws like Tua did to Tyreek Hill. So I don't know about that.
Tyreek Hill, actually.
That was a great throw.
It was a dot too.
That's true. That was just, I don't know. I can't trust him yet. That's all I'm going to say. But I'm fine with the list. But that's just the one comment.
Oh, thanks, Sri. Appreciate that.
Yeah, honestly, like the top 5 is pretty solid. I'll give you that. I can't disagree with any of those top 5. The Eagles will not be undefeated after next week, unfortunately.
The Eagles are playing the Cardinals, and the Cardinals will get absolutely smacked by the Eagles next week.
No. We're winning that game.
Look.
Okay.
Sri and I are objective enough to detach our fandom from the fact that the Bills are going to absolutely destroy the Steelers this week. Why can't you be as objective? We are the hosts. Look, we're coming on a year here at the podcast. I think it's time we introduce some objectivity into this whole thing.
The Cardinals have a chance. There's always a chance with Kyler Murray.
Okay, Rohan,
always a chance.
In your deepest of heart, what do you think is going to happen in this game?
I think that the Eagles are favored. The Eagles will probably win.
There we go.
But
okay.
In my prediction, you'll see the Cardinals are going to win.
Okay, so you're just taking an L on predictions, which, by the way, I'm leading in.
But anyways, before we go on, the top 5, like I said, I think it's good. I just think you're going to see why the Bengals don't deserve to be on this list on Sunday Night Football. I think the Ravens are going to run them over. Think about it. Like, this Ravens team has played a bunch of, like, there are 2 losses. Yes, they've choked a little bit, but they've been really close games at the end of the day. And like you said, I think this Ravens team is a team that, just like the Bengals, could easily be 4-0, and they have a lot more talent, and they have a lot better stuff in their resume to show for it. And the disparity between the Ravens and Bengals, I think, is large, and it should not be like one. It's just one spot apart. I think they'll show that on Sunday.
The thing with the Ravens that's worrying me a little bit, that for me, I think they could drop down a little bit, is they're getting injured like they were last year. Rashad Bateman showing up on the injury report. Their offensive line, Ronnie Stanley, I don't think he came back this week. If so, they're going to get him back soon, hopefully. But that receiver room is already thin. So without Rashad Bateman, it's Mark Andrews and
Devin Duvernay, baby.
I guess, yeah. But that receiver room leaves a lot to be desired. Against these top shelf teams, I don't know if the Ravens can compete. But we've waited long enough. The return of rapid fire questions, Sri's rapid fire questions, the 2022 season. We're a month in. Sri, I've missed this since last season.
Me
I think
too.
we did.
This is my favorite segment.
This is my favorite segment. I think we did this over the summer once. But now that we're a month into the season, what you got for us, Sri?
All right, yeah. I got 7 questions, so get ready. All right. So a lot of these questions are gonna be random, but they're like very team focused. So, yeah, it's just about teams basically. So question number 1: are the New York Giants a playoff team? They're like 3-1 right now, but then they got the Packers, the Ravens, the Jaguars, the Seahawks, and the Texans. So what do you guys think?
Yeah, I think the Giants are not a playoff team. I mean, they've I think they're, first of all, like those games that you laid out, I think that's 3 straight losses on their schedule. They've really beaten bad to mid teams. You know, they beat the Titans at the beginning of the season when they were still getting things going. They beat the Bears. They beat the Panthers. You know, teams that just really aren't that good. These next 3 games will be a test. I don't think they'll win them. Their quarterback play just isn't good enough. Saquon will give them a fighting chance, but I don't see enough all-around talent on the team.
Is maybe an okay answer? Like I'm at like I'm legitimately at like 60-40 right now in terms of yes. So I guess if you want to call that a yes, then yes. The thing is with the Giants, I've been really impressed with how they've been running their offense, and Brian Daboll has been coaching the hell out of this roster. I mean, first of all, Saquon Barkley, that man is back, and the NFL is better for it. I mean, Saquon Barkley is one of the most fun players to watch in the NFL when he's on the field and when he's healthy. And it's really great to see that he's once again leading the league in rushing. He's the biggest weapon for that team, and he really is the Giants right now. Daniel Jones, I think, he had suffered an injury at the end of this last game against the Bears, so that'll be interesting to see. I don't think he'll start against the Packers. But if he can come back in a couple weeks, I think he's been playing pretty well this season. He's been protecting the football more than he has past couple seasons. The wide receivers are not good. They lost Sterling Shepard last week on Monday Night Football. So for that reason, I think it's a little bit worrying for the Giants. But again, Jaguars, Seahawks, Texans, I think they can go 2-1 in those games. Next couple weeks will probably be losses, but you know, and the NFC is not that good. I think the Giants have a fighting shot for a 7th.
Do the Giants or the Cardinals have a better chance at the playoffs?
I think they have an equal shot right now. The Cardinals have a harder schedule, though. Much harder schedule.
Honestly, Rohan, I was going to say something worse, so let's just go with that.
Sure. How can you possibly want to take Daniel Jones over Kyler Murray?
I'm not taking Daniel Jones over Kyler Murray. I'm taking the Giants over the Cardinals. I feel like that's a pretty big difference, you know? All right. So, you know, one division that really shocked me was the AFC South. Right now, the Jacksonville Jaguars are leading, and I think the Colts are in 3rd. So, you know, who's going to take this division? I think the Jaguars and the Titans are both 2-2. So, what do you guys think?
Duval, baby. Jacksonville Jaguars.
That was really cringy.
Huh?
That was really cringy.
I don't care. Jacksonville Jaguars will win this division. Trevor Lawrence, Doug Peterson, Coach of the Year right now. I'm so happy for the Jaguars. They've been, for lack of a better term, a poverty franchise for as long as I can remember. Apart from that one Blake Bortles year where they beat us in the playoffs where we actually could have gone to the Super Bowl. But that doesn't matter because Trevor Lawrence is living up to his draft position. James Robinson, the king. Achilles tear can't hurt him. He's back. And Christian Kirk. Who knew that wide receiver contract was worth it?
I didn't know that. I was like, what is this contract
If anything, that's more an indictment on the Cardinals that they couldn't use Christian Kirk because he's apparently a wide receiver 1 in this league. But the Jaguars seem to be the best team in that division. Yes, they lost to the Eagles, but the Eagles are, you know, the best team in the league. The Jaguars are the best team in this division far and away, even though I love that the Titans are getting back to Derrick Henry a lot. But it's the Jaguars' division to lose.
Yeah, this one's tough. As like, part of me still wants to say the Colts, but the Colts have just looked really uninspired, except for that one come-from-behind victory against the Chiefs. They lost again to the Titans. Jonathan Taylor doesn't look good. He might be hurt. The Titans have also looked uninspired. The Jags are at least fun to watch. I mean, they had like that Week 1 hiccup against the Commanders, but they looked really solid from then on out. Again, the Eagles are a really good team. I think I'm going to have to go Jacksonville here as well. Again, well-coached team, really dynamic players, and in an AFC South that's really struggling to separate itself, I think big playmakers that the Jaguars have all around can honestly win it.
Also, shout out Travon Walker, the number 1 pick, playing out of his mind right now, proving Rohan wrong.
Okay, he's playing out of his mind, but Aiden Hutchinson is more out of his mind.
I don't think so. I think Travon Walker and Josh Allen, top 10 edge rushing duo in the league right now.
Aiden Hutchinson would have been better. He would have been better.
All right, we can debate that later. But my next question, are the Eagles the only undefeated team in the NFL officially Super Bowl contenders? I personally think they are. What do you guys think?
Yes.
I think we're all in agreement here.
Yeah. I mean, like, I mean, I don't know if I want to give an explanation, but like their defense is amazing, best offensive line in the league. Jalen Hurts, for all your guys, hey, I said that he could be a starting quarterback in this league, and he's proven to be above and beyond that. He is a top caliber quarterback with his dual threat ability.
I think the interesting thing with the Eagles is they just have so many ways to win at this point. The defense can stifle you from the pass rush. Secondary, James Bradbury, Darius Slay seem to be playing really well. And offensively, they can beat you through the air just as well as they can through the ground. Last year they were almost exclusively a running team, and they're really good at that. But now they can really beat you any way they want.
They have so many weapons too.
Yeah, and so I really think this team on paper is just it's built for a Super Bowl run. I don't know with how young their staff is and how young Jalen Hurts is if they're built to actually make it this year. But if I'm taking someone right now this year, it's going to be the Eagles.
Nice, yeah. I'm in agreement there for sure. This question, I'm happy that I'm asking this question. The Minnesota Vikings have had their best start to the season since 2016. Do you guys think they can take the division over the Packers?
I'm going to say yes. I predicted this to be
I love you, Rohan.
Stop shaking your head. They beat the Packers already once. Like, no, say what you want, but if it comes down to it, that's a tiebreaker. That's a tiebreaker.
It's almost like they play twice a year.
Yeah. But like that's one win against them that they already have, and if it comes down to it and they have to play them again and they win, like it's already like one bump up.
I guess, yeah.
They're already one step ahead, is what I'm trying to say. Again, more talented team. I think we can't deny that they're more talented. Like just overall, they have more offensive weapons, and in this league, I think offensive weapons are really, really, really necessary. I don't know. I'm just not sold on the Packers. They didn't look good these last 2 weeks, even though they were wins. They were bad wins, sloppy wins. And I think that when it comes down to it, when they're playing real contenders, and when they play the Vikings again, I think that it's going to be some tough sledding for them.
I'm taking the Packers here.
You're just an Aaron Rodgers dick rider.
I talked to you about why the Packers are going to get better. Aaron Rodgers is just leagues above Kirk Cousins. I think all of us can agree on that. Yeah. And Romeo Doubs is emerging. As I predicted, one of these receivers would emerge as a top threat.
Bro's talking like Romeo Doubs is a Justin Jefferson or something.
No, I'm not saying that, but they've got a top-tier offensive line. David Bakhtiari's back. Let's not forget about the defense. Minnesota's defense looks pretty bad, man. I mean, they almost choked the win against the Saints this past weekend. So
I'm not putting much stock in a London game. Like I don't know. I just can't.
Okay, then look at what Jalen Hurts did to them a couple weeks ago.
The Eagles are like leagues better than both of these teams.
Either way, you got Aaron Rodgers, one of the best quarterbacks in the league, the reigning MVP.
I thought we don't just compare quarterbacks, though. I thought we compare the whole teams.
I am comparing the whole team, but Aaron Rodgers is the team, so I'm comparing Aaron Rodgers to the Vikings. The Packers are going to win this.
Sure, I'm on your side here, buddy.
Rohan wanted to ask this question a couple of episodes ago, and it pains me to ask this, but are the Steelers a bottom 5 team?
I'm going to let Arjun answer this question first. You know my answer, but Arjun, you can go ahead.
I want to preface this by saying that I love my Steelers. I love the Pittsburgh Steelers, and I have for my entire life. The Steelers are not a good team right now. In fact, the Steelers are most likely a bottom 5 team in the NFL right now.
I didn't actually expect this to hear.
I didn't expect to say it either.
Tom was going to coach out 8 wins.
Look, this year is a rebuilding year. I think everyone on that coaching staff knows it. I think everyone on that roster knows it. And this year, in all likelihood, is the end of Tomlin's regular season, no losing season streak. But that's okay. Kenny Pickett showed a lot of toughness yesterday, showed a lot of excitement, and made me excited as a Steelers fan for this offense in the years to come. There's going to be some growing pains this year. I'm just happy that I get to watch a fun Steelers bad team, like you said, instead of just a bad Steelers team to watch. All love to Mr. Trubisky. Seems like a great guy. Love his impact on the team, but this is Kenny Pickett's team now. It's going to be rough to start. We got the Bills and the Buccaneers, and Kenny Pickett's probably first 2 full NFL starts, which, good luck to Kenny. But it's going to be a rough year. Looking to get offensive line, corner, and maybe some edge in the draft. But the Steelers are a bottom 5 team.
Just imagine if Kenny just balls out and just beats both of those teams. Yeah, man, like that would be.
Yeah,
Sri, don't feed my fantasies.
Imagine
like
that. I'm just gonna say yes. I think that'll suffice. I don't need to rub it in anymore.
All right.
Thank you. I appreciate
Thanks,
it.
Rohan.
You're welcome.
Thanks, Rohan.
Wait, Sri, what's
Anyways.
your answer on this?
Like I'm looking at the bad teams in the NFL.
You're like prepared. You're like, yeah.
Like
Pains me
I'm
to
looking
say.
at the bad teams in the NFL right now. I see the Texans. I see the Colts. I see the Raiders. I see the Patriots.
I'm sorry, Sri.
The
I'm
Commanders.
taking the Patriots and Raiders above us easily.
Patriots already beat you, and the Colts are also
genuinely, other than the Panthers, I feel like I'm taking, other than the Panthers and maybe the Bears, I think I'm taking any other team in the NFC. And then in the AFC, I think I might take every team except the Texans. So like it's just 3 teams total. So they're definitely a bottom 5.
There you go. Well, that's what we like to hear.
So like, I think they're like, honestly,
Willie Coolest would have been so much more fun.
No, Kenny is gonna be great. I don't have any doubt about that.
Yeah,
right, next question.
Bears, Panthers, and Texans. Yeah, that's all I'm gonna say. Anyways, what's your MVP prediction? Like right now?
I'm gonna say Lamar Jackson. I think it has to be Lamar. I think like he'll win his division. I think he'll lead his team to like a 3rd, 4th seed probably. If the voters, I think it's gonna end up being a 2-man race between Lamar and Josh Allen. Josh Allen obviously.
I think Jalen Hurts is gonna fall out.
I think Jalen Hurts is gonna be really good. But like last week wasn't necessarily an amazing performance from him. I think voters are really going to dock him on his poor performances, and I think at the end of the day, it's going to be the Philadelphia Eagles are going to be seen as a cumulative team effort that makes it to the playoffs, whereas like the Ravens are going to be the Lamar show. I think Lamar and Josh Allen will statistically further themselves from the rest of the group. Mahomes is an interesting argument, but I don't think that they're going to be good enough.
Yeah, like.
Mahomes also has
I was gonna
case
say
of,
that,
like,
Rohan.
voter fatigue.
Yeah, voter fatigue.
Yeah.
I just think Lamar is going to be the most electric player. He has been the most electric player this year. He's going to put up really good numbers on the ground and in the air. If he gets another like 1,000, 3,000 yard season, I think it's going to be hard to not give it to him.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with I'm gonna go with Josh Allen. Basically for the same reasons you said. I think like the Bills are the Josh Allen show right now. They have no run game whatsoever apart from Josh Allen. And they're relying on him to win games. Whether that's a good strategy or not, in terms of long-term success, we'll see. But I think this year he's going to show up on the stat sheet. But I will say, last year, you guys know this, Week 8 or Week 7 was when I predicted Aaron Rodgers would win MVP. And it was after that week that he started to insert himself into that conversation. So I wouldn't be surprised if not necessarily Aaron Rodgers, but if another quarterback comes into that race later on. If I'm taking one person right now as my dark horse pick, I'm going to say Joe Burrow. I think Joe Burrow is the kind of quarterback who can really turn it on middle of the year towards the end of the season.
I would take like Justin Herbert. He hasn't been like.
Yeah, but the injuries for the Chargers hold me back on that. But I think Burrow's my dark horse pick if we're talking middle of the season. But right now, I think Josh Allen's the best prediction I can make.
I'm going to take Jalen Hurts. And I'm just going to tell you what. I feel like Jalen Hurts is going to have a similar season to Lamar in 2019, but just a better passer and just not as much rushing production because they already have an insane running game as it is with that offensive line with those running backs. I think that Jalen Hurts has established himself as a terrific passer this year. I feel like he has multiple games with like 3 touchdowns, I think, and he has incredible weapons. He has an incredible offensive line. I think that team is built just so well right now, and I feel like he's going to have a lot of success. So I'm going to take Jalen Hurts on this. And, I feel like the AFC is just a lot more competitive. So that's why. Jalen Hurts for MVP.
But on that note, that's it for today's episode. We're really excited for a really good Week 5 and weeks to come. Week 5 doesn't actually have the best schedule on paper, but, it's the NFL, so there are going to be some really good games either way. But we're really excited for the rest of the season. Make sure to check out our picks of the week every week. Right now, I think I'm leading by a couple picks, but we'll see after this week. Also, check out Fantasy Team of the Week along with these weekly episodes. And starting next week, we'll be posting our top 10 power rankings every week until the end of the regular season. But thank you so much for watching, and check us out on Instagram at On The Turf Podcast. My name is Arjun Ryan.
I'm Sri Baumkonda.
And I'm Rohan Patel.
And we'll see you next week in week 5 on the turf.